Strong, fertile goats, fewer parasite problems, herds that bounce back quicker after kidding. Sounds too good to be true? Not for farmers like Sizwe Thusi in KwaZulu-Natal, who rely on the Voermol Game Block to keep his goats in peak condition year-round. Hello Mzansi, welcome to another episode powered by Voermol Feeds. My name is Duncan Masiwa. Now in this episode, we're putting the spotlight on the Voermol Game Block with Dr. Josef van Wyngaard, Voermol Feeds Technical Manager. We unpack its benefits, how to use it, and why so many farmers are calling it a must-have for sustainable goat and livestock farming. Dr. Josef, welcome back to another episode.
Duncan, always a pleasure to be on the show.
Fantastic. Let's start off easy, I suppose. What exactly is the Voermol Game Block?
As you know, Voermol's got a whole range of blocks where the game block will fit in. Over the years, we developed this product to mainly focus on, let's say, the game industry. But with time, we realized due to the quality of this block in terms of the nutrients and the high component of natural protein that's in there, it's ideal for small stock systems as well, because it's all about feeding it to ruminants. And the whole purpose was to develop a ruminant game. But now we're talking about small stock. Even ruminants such as cattle can make use of this. So it's really an easy product to use, no nonsense product, weather resistant. So it's really a practical thing for farmers to use, especially in, let's say, challenging terrains where there's even a bigger benefit when using one of these block of Voermol, especially the game block. So the product is there to basically fill the gap on all the nutrient deficiencies. But at the same time, with that energy component that's in there, talking about 8 megajoules and 15% protein. That's all natural protein, so there's no urea in there. And with that compilation, I mean, we're talking about maximum production potential of animals that's being unlocked with the use of this product. So it's ideal in a small stock system where we know those animals require a little bit more energy, a little bit more quality protein for maximum milk production. At the end of the day, wean excellent lambs.
What I love about this is that it sounds as if it was created initially for game, but it's ideal for small stock systems as well. I suppose that speaks to Voermol's multi-purpose approach to feed products. If a farmer like Sizwe, puts out a game block for his goats today, what visible changes in health or condition should he or she expect to see, and how quickly, I suppose?
So talking about health, and this is where the game block also comes in. I didn't even mention that it's enriched with aloe powders. So the benefit there is aloe powders works against internal and external parasites like your ticks externally, internally, some worms, etc. So the idea is by feeding this block at the same time, not just addressing the nutritional deficiencies, you're also tackling external tick load or internal parasite infestation. So over the long term, you can actually decrease your timeframes where you need to bring in the animals and dose them and check them for ticks, etc. So this is, once again, a multiple purpose block that covers nutritional gaps and then coming from a health aspect as well, covering that. The conditions that you would see in change in your stock would be firstly a lower load in external parasites, and then also, it's all in the end product that you're marketing, and that would be your young animals. So you'll see the weight gain in those young animals, and that all comes from the increased milk production on the ewes after feeding on these game blocks.
So lower load in external parasites, weight gain in young animals, and increased milk production. One of the biggest challenges in extensive systems is keeping animals resilient through tough grazing conditions. How does the game block actually help build that kind of herd strength?
With Voermol's blocks, it's designed to cover both maintenance and production. So the animals will vary their intake according to the quality of the available natural felt that they're grazing on. So if you talk about herd resilience condition in extensive systems, this product will fit in there perfectly. So in the summertime, the animals will obviously have a lower intake on the blocks because the quality of the felt will increase. As they move into the winter, or let's say there's certain patches on your farm, in mountainous areas where you've got sour felt versus sweet felt, the intake will be a bit higher on the blocks. But that's to compensate for the deficiencies that's in your felt. So once again, with the practicality of the block range, I mean, it's easy to put out your block and 2 weeks later you can check and see, okay, do I need to add one more block or move the animals to a next camp? So it's all about flexibility when it comes to the use of these blocks in our herd resilience.
How should farmers integrate the game block into their seasonal feeding programs? Is it something to use year round, or does it shine most in certain seasons?
If you start with the game block for the first small stock system, one would look at strategic windows where to introduce it instead of just adding it to your system right through the year. So strategic windows would focus on, let's say, just before the breeding season. And that depends on the farmer when he has his specific breeding season. It could be in the spring or in autumn time. And then also just before your lambing season or your kidding season. That would also be an ideal window. And while you're introducing it during that, let's almost call it the late pregnancy phase, you continue with that block right through up to weaning. So that would be about 3-4 months. So where I'm getting to is one should get into a system where you've got your dedicated lambing seasons, and then you can actually reduce your feed costs over time by only focusing on these windows instead of feeding a lick right throughout the year, because maybe you've got a ram that's roaming together with your animals right throughout the year. So then you've got animals in different phases mixed together. So rather try to split them into groups if possible, then you'll get the best benefit out of your supplemental feeding, especially with the game block being introduced to your animals.
So when a farmer starts using the block, how soon can they realistically expect to see improvements in animal performance, whether it's condition, fertility, or overall health?
According to that strategic windows, let's take an example of, let's say, 4 weeks or 5 weeks before your lambing or your kidding season. You're going to see a major difference in your udder volume of your ewes. Obviously, we won't be able to measure the milk production, but you're going to see that indirectly in the growth of the lamb or the kid. And at the same time, your survival percentages of your lambs and kids will be much higher compared to not feeding this product. You'll have an idea of what is your survival percentages and after feeding this product, and you'll see a major difference there. That goes through right up to weaning, because I mean, if your ewe produces more milk, your lamb will be healthier and that lamb will wean heavier. So you'll see it in your wean weights at the end of the day. Talking about health, you're definitely going to see a visual difference on your animals in terms of tick load. You can also have a look at their manure. That's also a good way to check the health of our animals, the consistency, etc. So that's all good indicators to look out for when using this product if you're chasing a specific result.
Dr. Josef, I think it's important to look beyond just immediate results. Kind of want to understand the bigger picture impact on the farm. How does using the game block translate into long-term benefits for herd productivity and farm profitability?
Actually, animals got specific nutritional requirements, and those requirements needs to be addressed continuously. So if you feed below par for a certain period, you might not see necessarily a change in body condition or in, let's say, weight gain during that specific window. But over the long term, that animal will produce a lighter kid or a lighter lamb over time, because I'd almost say their nutritional reserves are being depleted. And you need to feed them a high quality supplement to ensure that the reserves are fully, let's call it, almost loaded up. So when there's a challenging time, so that there's a sudden drought or there's a health challenge that comes through, then that animal can tap into its reserves and not necessarily where you see a big dip in performance. So you get that long-term sustainable growth, etc. A new term that's been mentioned lately is we're talking about generational feeding. So what you're feeding your pregnant ewe in terms of let's say a supplement, that will affect the performance of that unborn calf or lamb or kid later. So it's such an important thing, that strategic windows when you're feeding it, because you can just see the long-term effect, what it can have. So think of your pregnant goat. So if I'm not feeding her the correct supplement over long term, that lamb or that kid will not perform the same as a kid that came from a ewe that got high quality supplement during that pregnant phase. So it skips almost a generation. So that's where the long-term benefit comes in. So it's not necessarily that you're going to see overnight a difference or a change. We're talking about long-term sustainability. That's where we want to focus. So doing it right now, you'll see the benefits over time, and the benefits will be there for long-term. And then that all talks to profitability at the end of the day. And the big word, sustainability. You want to keep on doing what you're doing. You want to grow. So not just fix something now, but doing it right now or correct will ensure that longevity is a long-term benefit thing that pushes through.
There you have it. Dr. Josef van Wyngaard, Voermol Feeds Technical Manager, talking to us about the multi-purpose Voermol Game Block. You can, of course, read more on this topic by visiting www.foodformzansi.co.za. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss any of the episodes. From me, Duncan Masiwa, our technical producer, Megan van der Vent, and the rest of #Team Food for Mzansi, thanks for listening.